stage. Old mate, Big J. How are you, Big J?
Good, mate. How are we?
Good, mate. And, of course, Australia's #1 reporter out there at the moment, Jay McAllister. How are you, Jay?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. You've been pretty busy. We'll start with you, Jay. Are you in Sydney as well, or hang on, what's going on up there? There's no sound. I don't know what's happening there. Just hang on a sec. You guys can hear me, okay?
Yep, I've got you.
Just hang on a sec.
Yeah, I got you.
Hang on. How's that? Just give us the thumbs up there, guys. All good now. All right. I must have just been the wrong button. So, Jay, we'll start with you, mate. Yeah, so I didn't catch that. So you're still in Sydney, or you're heading up to Newcastle?
Yeah, mate, still in Sydney. Come down a couple of days ago now. It's a couple of nights in Sydney, and then head up to Newcastle tomorrow. Bit of a face-off at the shopping centre there, the Westfield in Newcastle tomorrow, and then into the press conference on Friday. So it's been an interesting week this week so far.
I bet it has, mate. And Big J, you've been pretty busy getting T-shirts made there, but also with your own channel as well.
Yeah, mate. First I'm surprised the chump has come out hiding behind his mother's skirt, because, but yeah, I've been pretty busy, mate, building up the Aussie Boxing Talk channel, doing my stuff with T-Street, of course. We're going to be doing probably another video on that within the next 24 hours.
Good.
Plus my regular job, because unlike you blokes, I actually have to have a real job.
That's not nice.
I mean, champ, I drive a concrete truck now, mate. I can drop you off a spin of concrete so you can hard yourself up.
All good. All right. Well, I'm just getting a bit of feedback from everyone in the chat at the moment. Let me know what that's like now, guys. For some reason, my settings have sort of gone amiss. So we've got sound. I've put on the echo cancellation. So hopefully now we're not too bad. Let us know there, guys. But
sounds a lot better, mate.
Yeah. All right. We will see. All right. So we've got still. Hang on. I'm just going to turn us down a little bit here because I don't know whether it's the echo is trippy. All right. So what is going on? Hang on. We might have to. All right. Echo's very bad. We can't hear much. Just give me a second. I'm just going to put on YouTube for a second, see if I can hear it, because I don't know what's sorry about this, guys. Hang on. We might have to, yeah, I think from my end, I've just got the sound on YouTube at the moment and it's actually okay, so I don't know what's happening there. Guess just the guess. So let me know if it's just the guess. I might be able to fix it, guys. Let me know if it's me or both Jay and then you'll clear the others are echoing. All right, let me have a look. Sorry about this. I'm just going to turn you down a little bit there. Yeah, only the guests are echoing. All right, interview guests. Geez, you'd think we'd have this sorted out, wouldn't you? Jay, just say something there, mate. Let's hear if everyone else can hear what you're saying there, because I can hear you fine.
Yeah, well, it's been a very interesting week with this judges controversy. And then we had Michael Zarafa pipe up yesterday as well. And he threw his hat in the room. So yeah, it's been an interesting week, not what we expected. I think Joey Spencer's team are annoyed at the judges thing, but I don't think they were ever in doubt of, pulling out of the fight. I mean, they've been here for 3 weeks on their own dollar in preparation for the fight, so it's highly unlikely that Tim Tszyu fight. I mean, I don't know where else he would go back and fight. But I think they were just annoyed about that. But it seems like that's all sorted now. So it was interesting to see Zarafa pop his head in. He's always there and abouts. Got to give him credit for that.
It certainly is, mate. Let me. You're still getting echoes there, and I can't work out why. I'm just going to Sorry about this, guys. We can see what he's saying, just bad echoing. There's got to be something pushing back on us here, fellas, and I'm trying to look at my settings at the moment. Interview the guests. All right, I'm just going to bring you over here. All right. Sorry about this, guys. No. Big J, just talk there, mate, if you can.
Well, that seems no echo. I'm not hearing any echo. That sounds really good. When the chump was talking, I could hear an echo, but I seem to be all right. So,
all right, well, what we might have to do is, maybe what we can do is, just, I've muted you guys. It's always the ways, and I'm just looking at our settings here. So, guys, I'm sorry about this. Just let me know in the chat if I'm coming across loud and clear. That's probably the first thing. Then we'll concentrate on the other two guys. Headphones, simple that. Nah, it's not that, Foster. I'm not quite. Give us some feedback on me there, guys. Can you hear me? Now, what it might be is, hang on. This has happened before. This is always great on live, a live stream, isn't it? Because there's nowhere to hide. So I'm all good. All right, Big J, give me a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's about how long it'll take to jump out.
All right, let us know. Jai, give us a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, so it's definitely. We didn't have this problem last time, did we, guys? This is always the way.
Nah.
All right. Let us know there, guys. I'm clear, so that's good. There's just some feedback coming through somewhere. We got 10. Okay, so that's both of them saying it twice. All right, well, what I might do, we might have to maybe abort this one, and then we'll come back on. Because there's no use continuing on if we can't hear you guys. Both guests are echoing. All right, I'm just trying to, let me, now I've got rid of the YouTube. All right, just go again there, Big J. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And Jay.
Yeah, I'm hearing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm hearing an echo on.
Oh, yeah.
Mate. Yeah.
All right. Well, what we'll do, guys, I'm going to maybe shut this down for a second. Actually,
Hit the reset button.
Actually, just can you guys just let us know now? Give us. I've just put the whatever this is. What is it? The iMac. But let us know now. Let us know there, guys, because I've just turned down the laptop speakers, so maybe that's repeating back with you guys.
Yeah,
let us know. Okay. All right, just go again, Big J. It's probably going to be me echoing now. Let's go, guys.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep, and Jay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, just let us know there, guys, because I think I might have had the microphone of the laptop turned up, so that's obviously repeating back. Just give us a couple of thumbs up there, guys, and we'll get into it. And we're nearly 12 minutes in, and we've actually, at least we've all right, okay, no echo. All right, that's what the problem was there, guys. Sorry to the 40-odd people that are watching, that have tuned in to see me playing around with the computer for all this time. All right, so can we start again? Big J, welcome to the show. Jay, welcome to the show. We've got Big J, who's the up-and-coming YouTuber, and Jay, who's the #1 reporter in Australia at the moment. Welcome to the show, guys. We'll just pretend the first 12 minutes didn't happen, and we're all good. So, first of all, Jay, pretend I didn't ask you anything before, mate. How's the week been? Where are you, and what's going on for the rest of the week?
Yeah, it's been good. Just in Sydney, got here on what was it now? Monday. Interview with Tim Tszyu at the gym. Watched him have one of his last training sessions, which was quite good. And then today they had the public workout, which was packed and busy. But yeah, so it's been an interesting fight week. We had that judges controversy earlier this week. Threw a spinner in the works. You had Michael Zarafa throw his hat in the ring to have a fight. He's always there and abouts. You've got to give him credit. He knows how to grab the headline. So yeah, it's been an interesting week. Not the week I expected. A lot more distractions and storylines and this, that, and the other. But when Tim Tszyu fights, there always seems to be something that happens.
It does, doesn't it? And Big J, I'm sure you're going to have plenty to say about this in the videos that you do. What do you make? We'll get to all the Tim Tszyu stuff a bit later, but the Michael Zarafa situation, what do you make of that? I thought the timing was absolutely impeccable by Michael, and I think he would have been rubbing his hands together thinking, how good is this? I've just got a free hit at getting into the Tszyu sweepstakes. What did you make of, firstly, his offer to step in, and secondly, also with what was happening with the judges?
Well, that's very interesting because I was actually a little bit taken back by it. I thought that his timing, why would you step up on 5 days' notice for someone like Tim Tszyu? But, I suppose sometimes if you smell blood in the water, the sharks will come out of nowhere, or the piranhas will attack. So I found it interesting, yet sort of a bit of a, really, Mick, can you really back that up based on your last few performances? So I think, credit to him to say that he would step up. But with Mikhailovich, you never know what you're going to get. And everything that Mikhailovich says, you got to take with a grain of salt. So, I mean, look at his history. I mean, he backed out of the first fight. He got destroyed by Lara. His last few fights haven't been that flash. So, I'm like, meh, I'll believe it when I see it. That's the one thing life has taught me, is that nothing happens until it happens. So I pay no mind to that sort of stuff. The judges, that was all bullshit. I think that was just maybe something to throw in there to build up a bit of showmanship, a bit of promotion for the fight. Because in Australia, I mean, I'm sure Jay will tell us how well it's doing here, but overseas, none too many people are looking at it. Because I've asked all my contacts overseas, they're all going, what? Okay, yeah, whatever. There's too many, because the 154 division is so stacked full of top-tier talent that Tim Tszyu, if he doesn't make an emphatic statement in this, is going to be an afterthought. And that's just the truth on the international scene. So in Australia, of course, he's going to be big. But if he doesn't destroy Joey Spencer or make an emphatic statement, even though he'll get the Thurman fight, everyone's going to go, meh. He had his chance. There's a dozen other blokes in line that want their shot and are going to get it. So,
well, what do you make of this? What do you make of this comment from Dennis Green before I get to Jay? Zarafa didn't break his hand after all. Apparently, he had a broken hand. All of a sudden, what's that been, 2-3 weeks? All of a sudden, that's okay on 5 days' notice.
When did he ever say he broke his hand?
We did say
after the.
Yeah, well, Jay, you step in, because he actually had pictures of his hand.
Oh, I remember that. Post-fight interview after that.
Yeah, after he fought Bazira, he said that he broke his hand, but then yesterday he said it mightn't have been broken and it's healed up. But I don't know. It's hard to tell whether Michael genuinely believed he'd be ready to fight Tim Tszyu. He also said he was on weight, and, if he was on weight now, you think he could even go down a division. So,
well, he said he weighed 73 kilos, didn't he?
Yeah, but it's an interesting one. But I mean, at least it gives us something to talk about, and it's good for Michael to get out there and get in the media and stir the pot a little bit. But yeah, I think it's a distraction. I think the fight with Tim Tszyu Spencer, there's so much on the line for Tim anyway. I don't think we need any sort of things around the periphery. That the fight's the most important fight of Tim's career.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. And Big J, like my thoughts on it was that, hey, great for Michael Zarafa to actually put his hand up, but I don't think he maybe seriously thought it was going to happen. But in reality, if you're looking through the eyes of No Limit, I mean, to promote a fight of this magnitude on 5 days' notice, it was never going to happen, was it?
Absolutely not. I mean, this is green mundane, all over again. I mean, how long initially did those two blokes take to get into the ring? 5 years. I think Tim and Mick will be pushing 5 years by now, because they were supposed to fight 4 years ago.
21, yeah, yep.
Yeah, so they're pushing 5 years.
Well,
so,
I think they had a bit of vision on today on the No Limit page, I think it was, and they actually had vision of Michael Zarafa at Tim's fight with Bowen Morgan, and that was the first time he actually put the hand up in the crowd, and Tim was a little bit taken aback. That was 2020, so it's pretty much been 5 years in the making. Jay, do you think that the fight was legitimately a chance to happen, or it's just a bit of smoke and mirrors happening
for this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I spoke to Glenn Jennings today, and he said there was no chance that even if Spencer did pull out, that they would fight Michael Zarafa. I don't think Tim Tszyu would fight Michael Zarafa unless he loses 6 fights in a row and he goes bankrupt. That's the only way, I think you'll ever see Tim Tszyu fight Michael Zarafa. I think Nikita maybe, but I feel like Tim doesn't want to give him the payday and reward him.
Yeah,
for Tim's hard work and his family's hard work, and that's he's entitled to.
Yeah, well, I can see the frustration of Michael Zarafa because he wants the fight. But at the end of the day, doesn't matter whether Tim, like you said, did lose 6 fights in a row. He's still the A side by a country mile. And without Tim, and Big J, I'll bring you in on this one. I mean, without Tim, as much of it as a sort of name Michael is now in Australia for different reasons, the facts of the matter internationally, he's not a name whatsoever. So really for Michael, it's pretty much Tim or bust. So you can understand his almost desperation in trying to get this fight across the line. Big J. Is he there or is he frozen? Jay, you answer it. I was going to say, I don't know whether Big J had fallen asleep there. He just froze.
He's frozen, the great man.
Big J,
what was the question?
I was just going to say, like, you got to think that with Michael in Australia, it's Tim or bust, because internationally Michael is unfortunately not a big name over there, and there's not a lot of fights on the horizon. So you would think that for Michael, it's Tim or bust.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because his last fight, he got the job done and he got the knockout, but it wasn't his best performance. I think Michael should. He's either got to have one crack at it and go again, or he's just got to be a big fish domestically and fight the guys like Tapia, Nikita, Mikhailovich, Jarvis, those sort of guys, and he could be entertaining and provide value. And then if he gets through all those guys and Tim, doesn't get back to where he was, who knows? But I think he's just got to focus on his own career.
Yeah, because, I mean, look, I take my hat off to Michael for continually just batting or coming back to the mound, I suppose. He's been struck out a few times, and, that loss from Lara last year would have pretty much ended the career of a lot of other guys in his position, because he's been around a while. He's had, 36 fights, 37 fights, whatever it's been, and the fact that he was, well, there's no other way to say it, but pretty much obliterated by Erislandy Lara. Now, I think his manager's doing a great job, because not only did he get through the Tom Brown fast and then the Basir A fight, but he's actually got himself in line for another world title shot. Yeah,
that's interesting as well. I don't know what that fight would be or where that fight would be, but you got to give him credit. He's always there in abouts, but when he gets up to that world level or fringe world level, he just hasn't been able to get the win. But there's no shame in that, though.
No, there's not. And I'll bring Big J in as long as he doesn't go to sleep again. Big J, with Michael, it must be frustrating for him as well because he seems to be that type of fighter who I think I said the other day, he's almost in purgatory. He's in between being like too good for domestic level, but not good enough for international level or the top international level anyway. So he's just one of those fighters, isn't he, that just finds himself just caught in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame for Zarafa, but I mean, you've got to remember that Mick had his opportunity 4 years ago and he blew it.
Yeah.
So, and as you said, domestic level, he could pretty much mix it with the best of them. But as soon as he steps overseas, and his record shows, not only does he get beaten, he gets beaten badly. I mean, Peter Quillen almost, well, actually, I'm pretty sure Peter Quillen did put him in hospital.
He did, yeah.
The Russian gave him a boxing lesson. Lara knocked him out inside of 2 rounds, and I think, did he have a fight in Germany?
He had a fight. He fought Cal Brook in England.
That's it, Cal Brook, yeah. I think he did win that one, but again, Cal Brook had blown welterweight, but yeah, I mean that's probably besides Jeff, one of his best performances in the ring. Yeah, but I mean, Mick is just like, he's hot and cold. The only thing Mick is consistent at being is inconsistent.
You better be careful. You might watch this show and he'll be on to you.
Oh, you think I'm worried about what Mick Zarafa? Bring it on, Mick. No, I'm not worried about him.
I know. But well, Jay, I mean, this is not the Michael Zarafa show, but I mean, where do you see him in the scheme of things? I mean, he said he's not going to get that fight with Tim, but if he doesn't get the Tim fight, well, what next? Where does he go?
Yeah, I think you should look at guys like Mikhailovich and Tapia, even Brock Jarvis, those sort of guys, Nikita. Nikita would be a great fight. I think that fight's a bit early for Nikita. I think Nikita would probably beat Zarafa at this point, but it's risky. Why take the risk? He's only 10 fights in or whatever he is. Yeah. Keep building him and keep building his brand and his profile and whatnot. But that's a great fight in a year's time or 18 months' time. But I think Zarafa should just do his own thing, get some good domestic wins, stay active. He's only had three or 4 fights in 4 years or whatever it's been, 3 years. So get active. Use the Tim Tszyu model when Tim Tszyu was very active in 2023, and what happened to him after that, So.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Big J, because look, my opinion of Michael is, as I said before, I think he's too good for domestic level and not quite good enough for the international level. But does he really, if he can't get the Tim fight, does he maybe have to sit back and reassess and go, you know what, well, if I can't get a Janabek fight, he's obviously not going to get Lara again. If there's no other fights at middleweight, does he then have to really then be content and maybe focus his views on the Matteo Tapis of the world and obviously Nikita and these types of guys in Aussie boxing? Because I would think that an Andrei Mikhailovich fight, a Matteo Tapia fight would still be big business in Australia and would do good numbers for No Limit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at his stage of his career, I mean, what's he now? Actually, it wasn't his birthday just the other day, March 30th, I think it is.
Oh, was it? Not sure.
I'm pretty sure it's around this time of year. I mean, he's what, 33 now? 33, I think?
31, 32, I think he is, yeah.
No, he's older than that. He's like 33.
Is he? I didn't know.
33.
33?
Yeah.
Michael's 33. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So he's at the age now where it's do or die. He needs to decide whether he wants to chase belts or chase the money. Because domestically, he'll make more money fighting in Australia on the No Limit cards than he would fighting fringe contenders overseas. He wouldn't make... He'd make what, 50 to 100 grand here. Over there, he'd lucky to make 20.
Yeah.
And he's got to pay all that stuff that's got to happen. So, is he going to win a world title? I don't think he ever will, unless by some... I mean, Lara destroyed him in 2 rounds. I mean, that pretty much says it all. So, a guy that was not active, 10 years older, and blasted him out of there in 2 rounds. I think Mick should focus on the money and start looking, well, I'm probably never going to be a world champ unless I fall over a belt. right? But the thing is, there's 10 belts out there, so surely you can grab one. Middleweight division is very, very weak. Like I said on your show the other day, I don't know why Tim hasn't gone to middleweight yet. There's too many contenders at 154. Far too many. For, unless you're at the absolute peak of the division, you're going to be waiting a long time to get a title shot. Go to middleweight where absolutely nothing's going on. There's no real contenders. Carlos Adonis is sitting around doing bugger all. So when Canelo retires, Genovic will go up to 168. There's 2 free belts there. So, but, it's whether he wants to chase the money here or chase a belt overseas, that's what the choice he has to make. Because at his age, never say never, because we all remember Sam Solomon won his first belt at 39. Damn near 40 Sam was.
Yeah.
So you can't keep anyone out, but I think Sam's an exception to the rule. So
Jay,
Sam's not the rule, he's the...
All right, Jay, I want your opinion on this, because I'm just going to make my comment. This comes up a lot when it comes to Michael's fight with Tim, and we're going to get to the card in a minute there, guys. We're just going over some other stuff that's been coming out. But this is the thing. Tony says here, why did Michael cancel the fight against Tim? Nobody really knows, so it's not real fair to say it was all down to Michael. Papa Tszyu don't want his grandson fighting Michael. That's a fact. Now, my view on it is I'm probably in the minority here, and a lot of people love to lay the boots into Michael, but I'm going to actually go in to defend Michael a little bit on this matter, because I know a lot of people say he ran from Tim, he pulled out, he was a chicken, all that sort of stuff. I don't buy it. I think at the time, this is when the COVID thing had just started. There was a lot of confusion out there. There was a lot of misperceptions out there. And I think at the time he got some bad advice. He actually admitted that. And I just think he was told that we can't go, and maybe wasn't given all the information from No Limit, because they've said there was going to be private planes and this and that going on. So I'm going to actually defend Michael on that. And I think, Jay, he's copped a bit of, bad press because of it. Because I think you'll agree with this, fighters like Michael Zarafa aren't scared of fighters like Tim Tszyu. They just don't, they do it for business reasons, but they're not scared. So I just want to probably shoot that down, that Michael was scared of Tim. I just have to agree with him that he got bad advice and it's blown up in his face. But I think we've just got to cut him a little bit of break, that he didn't run because he was scared of Tim.
Yeah, no, of course not. Michael Zarafa is a very good fighter and a great athlete, and he'll always want to test himself. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but I just think maybe his team tried to play hardball and get their way on certain things that they wanted during the COVID period, and the promoters pushed back and said we're the A side, and the falling out happened over business, or what one side wanted and the other side didn't, and Michael sort of got left in the middle there and copped all the flack. But the fact of the matter is, he, push comes to shove. Can you go without your team? Can you, I don't know what he was locked into, but, it's the biggest moment of his life at that point, the biggest payday that he'll ever receive. And, for whatever reason, they decided not to go through with the fight. So, if he doesn't get that fight again, perhaps he regrets that whole situation.
And Big J, the comment there from Tony was about, a big thing of it has been that Tim's grandfather has said that he doesn't want Tim to give Michael the fight. Is that all there is to it, or should we read a bit more into it?
Well, for my mind, I got told that his team were very concerned that they'd have to do a 2-week quarantine to get back into Victoria. You and I both know how crazy Victoria was back in the COVID times.
We were the worst. Yep.
And that was mixed team's concern, is that they weren't worried about going. They worried about coming back, because all these guys had independent businesses that they couldn't sacrifice for 2 weeks. That was the information I was getting. So when he put that down to bad advice, is Mick scared of Tim? God, no. No, he's not. He's not scared of Tim. If the fight would be made, right, and the opportunity was right, he'll fight him tomorrow. So, but it's not going to happen. But I think, the way I look at it, it's like if we defend Mikhailovich, which we do, then we've got to defend Tim. Over what? Tim's team hands aren't clean. What they did in that Fendora fight, they should have stopped that fight.
Yeah.
So, the situation is different. So I think it's just the best thing to do is just leave it in the past. That was 4 years ago now. There's nothing anyone can do about it. Move on. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, Mick will it'll go down as Mick's regret professionally, obviously. Because I honestly believe at the time, I think he would have got Tim, not now. My opinion's completely changed, but at the time, I honestly thought Mick would have got him, not now. But that's 4 years ago. Leave it in the past. I don't think the fight will ever happen unless Mick has a belt. That's the only way I think the fight will happen, is that Mick has a belt at the middleweight division and Tim wants to move up. Because I think that's the only way it's going to happen. If it ever happens at all, I think it's going to be one of those. It's going to go down as the greatest fight in Australian boxing history that never happened.
Yeah.
Alongside Sam versus Danny Gill, which never happened for some stupid bloody reason.
Yeah. No, you're right. Well, let's get on to this fight, Tim Tszyu versus Joey Spencer. And Jay, you've been amongst it all week. I think you've interviewed Joey Spencer, and everyone else you've got there. What's the vibe talking to him and Tim and everyone else that's concerned in the fight?
Yeah, I think Spencer is very confident. He's very relaxed. He's not overawed by it. I think doesn't know what to expect from Tim. I think Tim's saying, he might go in there and fight fire with fire, but he also might box. I think but on Tim's side, I think Tim's very relaxed. He looks very good in the gym. I thought he looked a little bit slimmer and a little bit less muscular than I saw him before Mendoza and before the Fondora fight. So I don't know whether they've worked on a bit more agility or footwork or movement going into this fight. So they're the things that I've noticed. I think Tim's very relaxed. He doesn't seem to be feeling the pressure. I think he's just going to go in there and size him up for a couple of rounds and then start putting the heat on and take him into deep waters and try and drown him. But the other interesting thing I found this week is I believe it's a 10-round fight.
It is.
I could be wrong.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know who that favours. I think Tim's fought 12 rounders the last few fights, and he might give away a couple of rounds early because he's a bit cautious of what happened last time, a bit more defensive, and then all of a sudden he's a couple of rounds down and he's got to start putting the heat on. So I don't know. That's another interesting point.
It is. What do you make of it all, Big J? You've probably seen Jay's interviews all this week. So, what are your thoughts about what you've seen and heard?
Well, I think the 10-round fight does give Tim a disadvantage because traditionally he's a very slow starter. I mean, it only takes 2 or 3 rounds to work the guys out, to warm up, all that sort of stuff. If you go back and watch all of his fights, it takes him about round 3 to round 4 to get his eye in, right? And then he just goes out and does the job. But 10 rounds, I think that disadvantages him because he doesn't have 2 more rounds to make up for it. But as I said to you on the show Monday, he needs to make an emphatic statement for everyone to take notice of the fact that he's still a threat. So he needs to completely dominate Joey for 10 rounds or knock him out. There can't be any mediocre getting by the skin of his teeth victory. He needs to absolutely kick the living daylights out of this poor kid, send him home to America where he's never going to be heard from again. Because if he doesn't, he'll just go way back into the queue. Yeah, he'll get the Thurman fight, beating another blown-up, washed-up welterweight to add to the 3 that he's already beaten. That ain't going to do him any favours. Beating Thurman's not going to do him any favours. It'll do his bank account favours, but for title things, everyone's going to go, what, you beat up a 36-year-old blown-up welterweight? Yeah, whatever. That's not going to give him a title fight. So he needs to really dominate Joey Spencer in emphatic fashion for people to take notice that he's still a threat and a key player at the 154 division.
Jay, what do you make of that? Do you agree? I must admit, I just think he just needs to win. Doesn't matter how, just get the win. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he just needs to win. I think he could go out there and box Spencer's ears off and you move on to bigger and better things. But knowing Tim, I think he'll want an emphatic win, but I don't think it's necessary. I think Tim's got such a big name, especially in Australia, that people, no matter what, will want to fight him with or without a belt, because they're going to get paid. You know, Thurman, there's no way Thurman would want to fight someone else in Australia for no belt. You know what I mean? So Tim's still that at 154. Besides, you know, Crawford, who's not really there anymore, and Spence. I mean, Fondora's a unified champion, and he fought in front of 500 people on the weekend. You know, so Tim's still probably one of the bigger names at 154. So I think he just needs to win, and then on to bigger things, I think.
Well, thanks to Andy for the super chat, $10. Thanks very much, mate. I agree with old mate on a Tim versus Zarafa fight. Surely Buckram has humbled Tim and he returns to calculated pressure. Smash the like button, folks, for sure. It does make sense. Big J, I'll just address this first. So from Tony, what's with the chat right now about Joey heading home? Can someone confirm this? No, he's not, Tony. He was threatening to go home, I think, tomorrow night. I think they were sort of empty threats, but this is if the judge's situation wasn't resolved. And at the open workouts today, which I'm sure you were there, Jay, George Rose did confirm that it was all resolved. There's high fives all around, and we've got a fight. So, Big J, what do you think of what was I going to say there? Of Tim's sort of change in demeanour a little bit, where he's now started to say, like Jay said about, was it get into a firefight and I'm ready to throw down, all this sort of stuff. He's sort of changed his demeanour from being nice and calm and collected to now sort of going back to a little bit, I hate to say it, of how he sort of was before he fought Bakram Murtazaliev.
Well, as long as he's not coming off as someone that, if he thinks that he can deal with Joey Spencer easily, he's thinking the wrong thing. Joey Spencer is coming to fight. All right. You can never underestimate your opponent. That is 101 in any fight. Expect the unexpected, never underestimate your opponent. If Tim does that, he's going to end up on his backside like he did against Buckram, because that didn't work out very well for him, did it? So he needs to give Joey Spencer the respect the kid's due, because he's, 24, 25? He's coming into his prime. And Joey wins this. That's a massive scalp for Joey's career. He's going to make sure he does everything he can to knock Tim off his perch and go home back to the States saying, I just beat a former world champion. So Tim needs to be absolutely focused and not let anyone fill his head full of shit and say, yeah, you're going to destroy this kid. He needs to destroy this kid, but he shouldn't be thinking that it's going to be an easy fight. He needs to, be disciplined, be focused, be like he was during the Fendora fight. That was the perfect way to approach a fight. He didn't go off half-cocked or anything like that. It didn't work out well against Murtazaliev, so he needs to stay focused, not take this kid lightly, because as we've seen before, it will backfire on you. So,
Jay,
I think...
Sorry, yep.
I think he'll be fine. I mean, I hope that Tim gets the absolutely statement win. I know you guys say he just needs to win, but if he goes out there and wins by the skin of his teeth, everyone's going to go, eh. So, because remember, guys, there's Ortiz, there's Madrimov, there's Boachuk, there's Erickson Lubin, there's Jesus Ramos, there's all these other blokes that are nipping at the heels of the champions. And if Tim doesn't make a decent fight of it, he goes way back to the end of the line. So I think Australian fans need to remember Australia is very, very small on the thing. Internationally, Australia, no one cares about Australians. I'll tell you that from listening to all the Yanks and the Brits I talk to. Like, oh, you Australian blokes, no one cares about you lot. You're too far away. We don't care.
That's not very nice. I'm on D-Style's show every couple of weeks, and they have an Australian segment on that show about talking about Australian boxing. So I'm an honorary Hispanic over there now. I'm Hispanic causing panic on the D-Style channel. So,
well, think about how many world champions do we have at the moment? One.
Yeah.
One.
Well, we also had 20 fights last year featuring Australian boxers. I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, and how many did we win?
Yeah, not many. But that's not the point.
Yeah, exactly. We get to the big show, we don't win. That's the point. That's why we're not seen as a threat.
Exactly.
Facts. We get our asses kicked.
I hear you. All right. Well,
It's
I'm going to answer this later from Jules. This is what I want everyone to answer later when they give their predictions on this fight. Where do you boys think Tim will be 5 fights from now? So I really can't sort of go into that until we probably get through our predictions. I don't reckon. I don't know who the hell is this, Dave. What do you boys think about Eddie Lee? Never heard of him or her, whatever. Oh, sorry. What do you think about Eddie Hearn's dig at No Limit about fighter pay at the Cambosis event? Had a gig. Well, I just think, yeah, it's as promoters do, firing a few shots across the bow. So it's always fun and games in the industry, guys. What we're going to do, we're going to go through the card. All right, then we can give our predictions. We'll just race through the first 4 fights because they're the non-televised card, but we'll just give everyone a bit of a rundown on who's fighting and what's happening, and then we'll get into the main card and give some predictions. So we'll first of all go to the first 4 fights. Now we've got Cooper O'Connell making his debut. Of course, he is the son of arguably Australia's best female fighter ever, Shotgun Shannon O'Connell. He's, as I said, making his debut against Benjamin Amos. He is 1-0. So that fight that he had with Benjamin Amos was back in November in Newcastle, and he won a 4-round decision. Jay, do you know anything about? Well, obviously we know about Cooper. Do you know anything about Benjamin Amos at all?
No, I don't.
No,
I
well,
do not.
you obviously know a bit about Cooper though. So I can tell everyone he's a super talented young kid. Very, very quiet. Doesn't say a lot. He looks like a welterweight, but what's he fighting at lightweight? I think it is. It might be super lightweight. He's very, very tall and lean, and the kid can fight.
Yeah. No, it's exciting. It's exciting to see another generation come through. I actually saw quick other topic. Denny Green's son is training as well. So there's a few out there, and Choc Mundine's son's going to have a fight. Going to return to the ring in a couple of months as well. So there's a few. So could we see Green Mundine 3 in about 10 years' time? Who knows?
You never know. You just never know, dude. I think Anthony's son's a lot older than Archie Green, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's probably about 8 or 9 years older, but
lower.
who knows? But no, it is good to see another generation. I don't know much about Benjamin Amos though, but it's good to see Cooper get a bit of exposure.
Yeah, and then just quickly, I'll say a super chat. Sorry, can't really see it that well there. $5. Thanks very much, Dennis. Appreciate Big Jay's input. Geez, don't pump him up too much, Dennis. And Jay's content. Yeah, and if you don't actually follow the guys, well, I didn't mention that before. It's just your channel, isn't it, Jay? It's not Barking Dogs. It's just your Jay McAllister Boxing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And old mate Big J, what's yours? Australian Boxing Talk. Is that what it's called?
Aussie Boxing Talk.
Aussie Boxing Talk. All right. Okay. So check it out. Thanks very much, Dennis. Very much appreciated there, mate. I was going to say something, but I can't remember what it was. We'll move on to. It'll probably come to me later. A few too many punches to the head, I reckon. But anyway, now I'm not sure of the order of this either, guys. But we've got Callum Peters up against William Leanhan. I think it is 4 rounds at super middleweight. So Callum Peters just with the 1 win. Obviously, the Olympian that was back in December when he had a first round knockout of Mitch Holden, who was very much overmatched in that one. William Leanhan, I think I'm going to pronounce it anyway. He had a fight in February and won a 4-round decision over Lachlan Rayside. So, Big J, do you know anything about William Leanhan? I know you know a fair bit about Callum Peters.
No, I don't believe I know that particular fighter, but good luck to him. I'm looking forward to Callum Peters, how he goes. But I think No Limit are going to just feed this guy, dead men for 5-6 fights to build his name up. Maybe 10 fights and then start to move him up in competition. I'm happy for Cooper, Shannon's young fellow, to get in there and have a crack. He did very well. Isn't he the world amateur champion? Is that
sorry, I didn't even mention that before. Apologies about that. He is not only the son of Shotgun Shannon O'Connell, but he is the current world junior champion. So an amazing accomplishment by Cooper O'Connell, and I should have mentioned that at the start, so apologies about that.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to him as I'll just call him the Chump. As Chump said, looking forward to another generation coming up. All these undercard fights. This is what I like about No Limit. They get their fighters exposure and they keep them active, which is you've got to give No Limit credit because they always keep their guys going and they give them the opportunity. So yeah, fantastic work. I'm looking forward to the whole thing. I think it's going to be great. It's just a shame I just can't be there. So
yeah, Jay, I've just thought of what I was going to ask you before with just talking about Cooper O'Connell. What do you think about him being? I mean, obviously, as I said, world junior champion, fresh out of the amateurs, now a pro. He's going to be someone they're obviously going to get behind. What do you make of his pro debut just being buried as the first fight on the undercard of such a big show?
Yeah, it's interesting. I I wonder if it's maybe to do with timing or of the rounds. I mean, the fight lengths, or
well, the
whether
question I was going to
expecting
ask, just to elaborate a little bit on it, is that there's plenty of other shows. I understand it's a big event with the Tim Tszyu show, and I know he'd love to be on, or loves being on the show. But do you think they could have probably really got him on one of those No Limit on Fox's shows, or even the Jarvis Thurman fight a few weeks ago, and put him up the bill like they did with Callum Peters for his debut, and actually pump the kid up a little bit and say we're really excited about the debut of the current world junior champion. He's new to the No Limit stable, and really pump him up, because pretty much haven't even seen one bit of him except of him on his own social media, and he's just buried down there as the first fight on the card. I for one, don't see the sense in it, but as I said, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I'm not privy to the decisions. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he wants to get the feel of being a pro, lower down the card, or I don't know. There could be more to it, but I agree with you. I definitely think that guys like that who have achieved so much should be getting a lot more exposure.
Well, what do you reckon, Big J? Because whether he's on the card or not doesn't really matter, because it's a big card. There's, 7 other fights on the card. I just think, mate, look, I understand he's such a young kid, and maybe they don't want to expose him to the spotlight too early, but I would have thought when you've got a world amateur champion that's been just signed up to your stable, that you put him up in lights for his pro debut. I mean, don't match him over his head, of course. You've got to give him the old, first or second round sort of knockout win, but just to put him out there and and sort of put him under the spotlight for all the fans out there, because no one's actually going to see him fight. It just doesn't make sense. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it does, because it doesn't make sense. You're right, because Callum Peters was televised. Eddie with Turamori, his fight.
And they made a big deal about it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to be. Maybe Shannon.
Yeah, maybe. Yep.
Maybe Mum's protecting him. I mean, there's so many factors that we're not privy to that we don't know. But if I was promoting him, all right, kid, you're the first cab off the rank, so you're being televised. Get out there and show us what you've got. So
yeah, well, I mean, yeah. But even if they're going to sorry, mate, sorry to cut. I was just going to say, but even if they want to put him on the undercard, and don't put a lot of pressure on him, at least make a bit of a mention of him on the card. It's been nothing.
Yeah, I mean, how be for him to walk out and his mum's right next to him walking out.
It's a great story. I just don't know why they haven't run with it a little bit more. And I know I'm probably over analysing it all. I just can't get my head around. I've got my promoter's hat on. You've got a world amateur champion on your books, and you put him on the first fight in the card. There's going to be about 30 people in the venue, and no mention of him in the lead up whatsoever. No fight poster. Not even an appearance at the open workouts. Not even an appearance with Jay McAllister over there. He can't even give us an interview. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe reading too much into it. But look, they've got almost done the same with Callum Peters. He's sort of buried down there as well. We've got onto the next fight, Brent Walton. Now he is, what's his record? 3-1. He's coming up against Seti, who is 2-3-1. So, Jay, I haven't seen much of Brent Walton, but I know Seti, he loves to throw down. He's not a bad fighter, and he's a lot better than what his record suggests.
Yeah, so I believe Brent Walton's one of Glenn Jennings' fighters.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so he's a Newcastle kid, I believe. So
he is, yep.
That's a local fight. So, yeah, I mean, all these 4-rounders, they're pretty much, get in there and swing, and you lose 1 or 2 rounds, you've lost the fight. So
that's right. Yeah.
Should be an exciting fight. But, I don't know too much about Brent Walton, but Glenn Jennings tells me that he's very promising. So, we will see.
All right, so he's 3-1. His one loss was to Durangara Chihuahua, who's a very, very good young fighter. That was back in November 23. He's coming off a second-round knockout of Ashley Rosenhaskew. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm always hopeless with that. But Asaya Seti, Big J, now he's 2-3-1. He's coming off 2 losses, but as I said, I think it's a little bit misleading as far as his record goes because the guy is a good young fighter.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I said besides Shannon's young fella and Callum Peters, I don't know any of these guys. So
Yep.
I just wish I'm not going to make comment because I don't know who they are, but yeah, I wish them the best. Hope they put on a show and make the best of their opportunity. That's really all I can say, unfortunately. So
yep. All right. Well, with that, we'll go on to the next fight. Cody Beacon and Ryan Day. So I don't really know much about these guys, Jay. I'm not sure whether you do, but the records. Cody Beacon 7-2, 4 knockouts coming. I do know Cody Beacon. I've seen him a couple of times. So he's 7-2, 4 knockouts coming off a 6-round decision over Joshua Nantes back in July last year, and Ryan Day 6-0 with 5 knockouts. He's coming off a knockout of Revo Kundi Mung, whoever that is, back in actually it was only a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So yeah, Jay, fill us in, mate. I don't know anything about these guys. Let us know if you do.
No, mate, I don't know too much either. But are these on the Fox Sports part of the broadcast, or
no?
these?
These will be this will just be normal Fox Sports. So before the pay-per-view starts.
Okay, yep.
So I think it starts
and then it goes
9 o'clock.
it goes into Mikhailovich. Is that right?
Yeah, it does. So I'll get to that card in a sec, that fight in a sec. But yeah, this is the
Okay.
This is the prelims, I suppose you'd say.
Right.
But let me just have a quick run through. So this 6 rounds at middleweight anyway. And before we get going again, there super chat from Dave. Thanks very much, mate. Did you hear Sam Goodman has a fight to be announced? Not Munster though. Does he ever get the shot? Feel bad for him. Well, I know he's looking. Jay, you probably know a bit about this. He's got a pay-per-view. Is it in May? I think he's coming, but May 14th. It might be in Sydney, but no opponent yet from as far as I know.
Yeah, I think they're still trying to work out an opponent for Sam Goodman, but yeah, that mid-May date looks to be the day.
All right. Well, let's move on to the main portion of the card. This is the televised version. This is all the prelims, of course, and Big J. I'm surprised this fight's again sort of so low on the card. Andre Mikhailovich, Blake Wells in a 6th round middleweight fight. I can't believe Andre Mikhailovich has gone from a 12-round world title fight with Janabek Alimkhanuly to a 6-rounder to start the pay-per-view card.
yeah, I think that's a very, very. I think that's a little bit insulting from Mikhailovich, since that he did so well to last 9 rounds with Janabek. But let's be honest, Janabek was playing with his food. He could have destroyed him at any time. But yeah, I think that's what Mikhailovich needs to build his confidence back up. I mean, maybe it's a decision that they decide, well, if you want to get back into the thing, you need to have the 6-rounder, get the win under your belt and go from there. I mean, the problem is we're not privy to all these things that go on. So why it's very, very surprising, there's probably a very good reason behind it, because there are other fights on the card that are a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Cred?
Prevalent? Yeah. Prevalent or more interesting, or it's going to lead to something else. I mean, as we said before, a fight with Zarafa would be good. A fight with Harbin, I think that would be an excellent fight. Mikhailovich versus Harbin, I think that would be a good one. But I'm sure there's a reason behind it. We're just not privy. We're just not privy to it. So.
Yeah, well, he's coming off that 9th round stoppage loss to Janabek Alimkhanuly back in October last year. Now, Blake Wells, he is, the record, by the way, of Mikhailovich is 21-1, 13 knockouts. Blake Wells, 11-2 with 5 knockouts. So I've seen Blake Wells fight numerous times, and he's a very, very good fighter. He just doesn't match up well with Tej Singh, unfortunately, because his 2 losses are to the same fighter in Singh. But, Jay, you'll be able to answer this one. I think you've seen it on social media, on Andrei Mikhailovich's social media, I think it was, that he also put his hand up to step in the ring with Tim Tszyu this week, and it sort of flew under the radar a little bit. Did you know anything about that?
No, I actually didn't see that, but it doesn't surprise me. I think everyone would want to step into Tim Tszyu to get that Tim Tszyu money. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I actually think Mikhailovich is a decent fight. He's tough. Actually, Janibek was playing with him in round 2, but he did so well to last until he did. But yeah.
I'm not sure, Jay, whether you've seen much of Blake Wells. I'm assuming you have. He's been on a couple of no-limit cards. Do you give him any chance against Andrei Mikhailovich?
I don't know. It's just what sort of Mikhailovich rocks up. Did he take much damage out of that Janibek fight? I mean, that round 2 was quite brutal. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how Mikhailovich comes back. It's only 6 rounds too.
Yeah, so not a long time to sort of get yourself rolling. Big J, I'm not sure whether you see much of Blake Wells. What do you think? Does he have a shot against Mikhailovich?
Oh, absolutely. He's in the ring, so he's got a shot. I have heard of the name. I think I have seen him fight before. I can't rack off the top of my head who he has fought. I think I might have seen one of those Singh fights.
Yeah, it was a headline on the on No Limit on Fox, one of those shows.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that sometime last year when Braylon Quinlan pulled out?
It was. Hang on, I'll get the exact date. I think it might have been a year or two ago. 2023. August 2023 was the last time he lost to Singh. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Once again, like Jay says, it depends what Mikhailovich turns up. I mean, not only physically did Janibek overrun him, how do you come back from that mentally? Yeah. So, I mean, because Mikhailovich was he undefeated at the time when he took on Janibek?
Yeah, he was 21-0. Yep.
Yeah, so his first loss was a pretty bad one where he got played with for 7 rounds and finally got put out of his misery in the 9th round. So how does that play on the mind? So
yeah, well,
so
yep,
it's like everything. It's a mental game. Yep. So it's what's he like? So
yeah, well, I actually think if there's going to be an upset on this card, it's going to be Blake Wells beating Andrei Mikhailovich. I think. Like, he's had those 2 losses to Singh, but he's such an awkward fighter, he's Singh, and they were both close fights, could have gone either way. Blake Wells can punch. I think he's got good skills. I'm not really sold on Andrei Mikhailovich at all. I don't know how the hell he got a world title shot against Janibek. Good, obviously, management somewhere. But I've just got a feeling Andrei can be a bit loose. Yes, he's a good fighter. He can punch. But, as I said, if there's going to be an upset, I think Blake Wells can do it. I'm probably still going to stick with the favourite in Mikhailovich, but don't be surprised if Wells pulls an upset. On to the next fight. This will be an absolute cracker. It could be, I was going to say the fight of the night, but I reckon Mazoudier and Hill will be a good one as well. But we've got Brandon Grutch, who is 3-0, up against Liam Tiva, who is 6-1. That one loss was against Brandon Grutch. And Brandon Grutch coming off a 3rd-round knockout of John Mailer back in July. And Liam Tiva, I hope I pronounced that right. I probably haven't. He's coming off a 6th-round decision over Johan Lin. So, Jay, you remember this fight? When did they actually fight? I'll just go back. They did fight in November 2023, and it was probably the fight of the year. Liam Tiva put Brandon Grutch down in the 1st round. Was put down himself at the end of that 1st round and knocked out at the start of the 2nd. But what a fight. And let's see if we get the same fireworks this time.
Yeah, I was surprised that Brandon Grutch has taken this fight. I mean, he got knocked down and then he come back an incredible comeback in that fight, but it easily could have gone the other way. So it's a very dangerous fight for both these guys, especially Grutch when he got the win and he could have gone on to other things. So I'm surprised they're going back in there with Liam. But, yeah, it's interesting.
8 rounds in the heavyweight division. And Big J, I've seen today at the open workouts as well that Jackson Murray was there trying to throw his hat in the ring as well. I think he should be careful what he wishes for against both these guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, How quickly did Justice Hooney take her in? 2-3 rounds?
No, it wasn't
When,
Jackson Murray. No.
sure Justice Hooney didn't fight Jackson Murray?
No, that was, hang on. No, he's undefeated, isn't he, Jay? I'm sure he is. Hang on, I'll bring him up on the, no, Jackson Murray is 7-0. 7-0.
Okay, my mistake. I thought he took on someone else. Well, okay, then, yeah, he should be, because I think we might get a different fight this way. I don't think these guys are going to go in all guns blazing because they know what the other can do to them. So it might go to distance, unless look at it this way: if it goes past 3 rounds and someone doesn't get knocked out, I predict it'll go to the distance. That's what I'm predicting. I think.
Yeah. So who's going to win if it does go the distance?
Big man.
Who's going to win if it does go the distance?
Ooh, I think I'll have to go Grutch. I think the reach and all that's going to be too advantageous. I think he got played it. I mean, he got a lucky punch in that after he got knocked down. But I think if I remember, he's a lot bigger and got the longer reach. So if he uses his jab and distance, he can just sit there and keep him off him all night. So I think you're going to get.
Sorry, Big J, didn't mean to cut you off there, mate.
Yeah, I think Grutch might have more in his toolbox if it was to go the distance, but who knows? I mean, it could be over in a round, so it's an exciting fight.
Yeah, I think Grutch wins again. I think Grutch will actually come out aggressive. Obviously, he was the one that knocked out Tiva last time. I reckon it might be Liam Tiva who might be a little bit more cautious this time. I mean, he was super aggressive in the first fight and got nailed. He thought he had Grutch, obviously. But I reckon he might be a bit more cautious, and I reckon it might go more than 2 rounds. I'm thinking maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5, but I'm still thinking Brendan Grutch wins that fight. Now, the next fight on the card. Now, I saw someone actually had a query about this in the chat just before. This is Andriy Saavedra and Nielson. It's over 10 rounds at middleweight. Now, Jay, I reckon you might know a little bit more. I'm hoping you do. Someone said, can you use your no-limit connection? You're right there, Big J? You're doing right there.
Just put the
all good, mate. Jay, what is this fight doing on the card? There's been a couple of people that have asked about it in the chat. There's obviously a connection with No Limit there. Is he a No Limit fighter, or is this a favour to another promoter or whatever it might be? Do you have any info?
Yeah, it's my understanding that Andrew was signed by No Limit after he beat Hardman, and he's a No Limit fighter.
Why?
And he's a handy fight. He's a handy fighter. Well, I think he's a handy fighter. I mean, many say he beat Tapia, so perhaps, because he's a South American, it gives him a bit of a international name that they can use on, if they're looking to get on cards over in America, or I don't know. But yeah, he's a No Limit fighter now, I believe. So I'm not sure why he's on this card, but yeah, they obviously see something in him. So,
Big J, do you think this is a pay-per-view event? A lot of people paying the $70. They're all looking for, obviously, a great card as well. And I understand what Jay said then about putting Saavedra on this card because they're trying to get behind him. But to put him second fight before the main event, is it really going to be a bit of a buzzkill to have him on the card at that stage of the card?
Well, it depends what sort of show he puts on because, his 2 fights against Tapia and
Hardman.
Hardman were quality fights. So for him, I mean, not for Hardman and Tapia, obviously, because they got belted by him. But, excuse me, for him, it was a quality show. And for pure boxing fans, they'll enjoy it. But for casual guys, they'll be like, yeah, you're probably right. It probably will be, oh, well, this fight's on. I'm going to go to the toilet, grab my refill the popcorn, get another beer, that sort of jazz. It'll be the popcorn match, as they call it in wrestling.
Yeah.
So
well, let's hope it's exciting, because if it's not, you're right, this is going to turn a lot of people out. Let's hope we get a repeat of, was it Kataev last weekend or the weekend before, whatever it is, with the Argentinian he fought, where no one was really that fussed about the fight and ended up being the fight of the night. So I don't really know much about either. Oh, well, Saavedra, of course, but not so much about Nielson. But Saavedra coming off the draw with Cesar Matteo Tapia back in. That was on the Zoo card, I think, wasn't it? That one. And then Nielson. Oh, by the way, Saavedra is 16-1-1. Nielson is 13-2. Now he's coming off a second round knockout of Renato Aghetti back in May of last year. So it looks like he's had all his fights either in Denmark or he's had that one in Budapest, but he's a Danish fighter. So anyway, we will see. I'm not going to give a prediction on that just yet because I haven't seen Nielson fight. I'll have to do that tomorrow and preview it in the Walking Boxing. All right, on to the co-main event. Now this is Cohen Mazoudier, 12-4-1, going up against Dan Hill, who is, what's his record? 7-1 over 10 rounds at super welterweight. And Jay, we know plenty about both of these guys. This also has the potential of being fight of the day.
Yeah, I reckon this is a great fight. It's a, I don't know if it's you could say it's a must-win fight for Callum Mazoudier if he wants to stay up there and get some more big fights after his fight with Nikita, which was an awesome fight. Dan Hill's been in some great fights. I reckon this has potential to be fight of the night. So yeah, really looking forward to this one.
And Big J, Cohen Mazoudier coming off that stoppage loss to Nikita Tszyu in August last year, and Dan Hill, he's coming off a 10-round decision over Lewis Chadwick back in September. But it's a good fight.
Absolutely. As you boys both said, it has the potential to be the showstopper, to steal the show. And I actually think, I don't know why, but I think Dan Hill might get up. I just have a gut feeling. As soon as I saw this fight on paper, I thought, hang on a second, Dan Hill might do this. Because we don't know what sort of effect the Tszyu loss had on Mazoudier.
Yep.
Yeah, on Cohen. So that's, as I said before, the problem is with this day and age is fighters don't know how to lose. Thanks to Floyd Mayweather, everyone thinks you lose one fight, your career's over, which is the biggest crock of bullshit I've ever heard. But that affects me in fact for the last 15 years. As soon as someone loses, everyone writes them off. So, yeah, it's just a matter of, who turns up, who's going to get the best shot in. But I think it could be like you guys fight of the night. I'm tipping I think Dan Hill might get the job done here. I think he might be for a surprise of the night.
I don't think it's for a title M&M. There's nothing on BoxRec about it. Jay, I'm not sure whether you know anything about that.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, who wins and why, Jay, in what should be a ripper fight?
I think Cohen Mazoudier maybe gets up because he's been working with the guys that Sam Goodman trains with, and I think he's been sort of touching up his skills, and I think he might get the job done on points, I think.
Yeah, I'm a little bit in between. Yeah, I think it will be close as well. I think Dan Hill, this is probably a little bit like the Mikhailovich-Blake Wells fight for me. I think Dan Hill, very, very capable of upsetting Callum Mazoudier, and it wouldn't surprise me if he did. But I just think Callum Mazoudier has got a lot more experience than Dan Hill. He's been in some bigger fights, and I just think he might have enough experience over Dan Hill, which should be a tough fight. I mean, Callum Mazzoudier's been in with Nikita Tszyu, Benjamin Hussein, Ben Mahoney, Wade Ryan, Joel Camilleri. So he's been there with some good fighters. So I just think that will be enough to maybe get him over the line. But again, I would not be surprised if Dan Hill gets the win. But you got to choose someone, and I'm going with Mazoudier by decision. I'm thinking so. Do that, Jules. No Limit have quite the middleweight stable if Saavedra is signed, makes the proposed eliminator tournament very interesting. Well, Jay, what did you hear about that? I did comment on Walking Boxing with this 8-man middleweight tournament. What do you know about it?
Yeah, I asked George Rose that today, and he sort of said that they've got a great talent in the middleweights on their roster, and what better way than to put them all together? I got the sense it could be a bit of an elimination, whoever can cut the mustard stays with us sort of thing. So I don't know. It's a good concept. I just don't know how long it lasts. Fighters are fighting each other and they're out. Then
It's basically a 12-month
you know,
tournament, isn't it? Because they got to have 3 fights if there's 8 people, and that's 12 months.
yeah. But it's a good idea. It's good to sort of mix it up and get people interested in different ways. So yeah, it could work, but it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, it will be. And Big J, let's get on to the main fight of the weekend. This is, or on this card, Tim Tszyu, I'll spit that out. Joey Spencer, 10 rounds for the super welterweight. Tim Tszyu coming off the 3rd round stoppage loss or knockout loss to Bakram Murtazaliev last October in Orlando, Florida. He is 24-2. Joey Spencer, 19-1, coming off a 10-round decision over Miguel Hernandez in December. First thoughts on the fight?
First thought that just popped in my head. You see that photo those two blokes are facing off? How recent is that?
That's a couple of weeks ago, isn't it, Jay? About 3 weeks ago when he first got here. I think that was the fight week of Jarvis and Thurman, I think.
Okay. Because look how bloody puffy Tim's looks in that photo where Joey Spencer looks primed and ready to go. So that's the concern. But if that's 3 weeks ago, that's not a concern now.
Actually, it's not 3 weeks. I think it wasn't Jarvis and Thurman. They faced off on the same day as Kambosos George Kambosos had his press conference the same day of the face off. So it would have been maybe two weeks ago.
Yeah,
okay. That's plenty of time to get rid of that because he looks a bit puffy in that shot where Joe looks pretty good. As I said, he's got to make an emphatic statement. As I said with T Street, don't be surprised if Joey Spencer puts on a better performance than people think he's going to. I want Tim to absolutely railroad him and bulldoze over him. But considering the past, considering what's happened with him, how's he doing mentally, it's going to be a tough fight. I reckon he'll get the decision. Right. I want him to actually out. I want him to knock him out and say, because it's only 10 rounds. That's a disadvantage for Tim. If it was 12, that would be advantage to Tim. I think it's advantage Spencer. Because has he ever fought 12 rounds? Yes, because he fought... did he fight Lubin in 12 rounds? Has he ever fought 12 rounds before, Joey Spencer?
No, he's never been in a 12-round fight. A scheduled 12-round fight.
Advantage Spencer, because Tim's going from 12-round fights now down to a 10. This is Spencer's...
Yeah, Tim has gone 12 against Fundora, Mendoza, Terrell Gaucher, Takeshi, in a way. I think are the only times he's gone 12.
So advantage Joe, because Joe's had a lot of 10-round fights where Tim hasn't had one for a very long time. So he does have extra 2 rounds to get the job done, get the extra couple of rounds up, all that sort of stuff. But, I think Tim will get the win. Hopefully he does. I mean, it's not the end of the world if he doesn't. He just needs to go to middleweight. But at 154, if he doesn't get Joey Spencer done, he's done at 154. He needs to go to a different division because there'll be no room for him.
What's your biggest, I suppose, question marks over both guys? I mean, you've given us your pick. What is the questions that you think both guys have to really answer?
How is Tim doing mentally after getting destroyed by Bakram Murtazaliev? The Fundora fight's not the problem. Bakram just absolutely cleaned him up. I think that fight would play worse on him than what the Fundora fight did. So for Spencer, can he actually step up to the plate? Because he took on, was it Erickson Lubin that knocked him out? Or was it Jesus Ramos?
Jesus Ramos Jr. knocked him out.
Yeah. So Joey Spencer has stepped up to the plate. But then again, what was he, like 19? How long ago was that fight? 4 or 5 years ago? That fight,
I think, was a couple of years ago. It was March 2023, so 2 years ago at the MGM ground that was, yep.
He was, a 23-year-old kid. So, you could probably write that off as just inexperienced, just a kid. So, Joey Spencer is primed to take over or make his mark on the 154 division. Does Tim still have it? So, does Tim still have it is the question for Tim. And is Jerry ready to step up to the next level? That's the questions that will be answered on Sunday.
What about you, Jay? The big question marks. I'm assuming it's the same thing in regards to Tim as how is he going to manage mentally. But is there any other question marks you've got over him?
Yeah, I think mentally he'll be good. I question: if we see the Tim Tszyu if we see the Tim Tszyu that fought Tony Harrison and fought, Jeff Horn, Mendoza, Tim Tszyu could win this fight with one hand tied behind his back. But, if he gets hit, if he gets a head clash again, does he go into fight mode and start swinging for the fences? And if he can control those emotions, that's the question. Can he control the emotions if he gets hit? Does he lose his? And I think that's one of the things he's been working on, because I think I've heard him say it to me, is even in the Fondora fight, he felt like he could have won that fight. He just sort of lost his mind a little bit and went away from the game plan and this, that, and the other, besides the blood in his eyes and whatever else. So questions, I don't really have any questions, but I'm expecting Tim Tszyu to start cautious, start defensive, and kind of like Tony Harrison, slowly put the pressure on from round 3 onwards, and then take over and maybe win a decision 7 rounds to 3, or get a late TKO, ref stoppage in the later rounds is how I see it playing out. Because I think his hand speed will be too quick for Joey Spencer. I think he'll be able to punch in between punches.
Yeah, well, my question marks along the same lines with Tim, but I would think that it's how he handles the pressure now from the Australian boxing public and the boxing media, and can he just, I suppose, stay calm and not get caught up in all because you know what it's like here, guys, all the backslapping and Tim's a Superman and Tim's going to do this and Tim's going to do that, and they just forget he's a human being and he got exposed for just being, really not being at the top. So I just hope he can get past all the pressure that's being heaped on him and stay cool, stay calm and collected, and not get caught up in that firefight. Because the great fighters, or even the very good fighters, don't get caught up in firefights. The Mayweathers and Crawfords and all the best Usyks, all the best fighters in the world, stick to the plan, stick to what they've done in training, and don't get caught up emotionally because someone has a bit to say about them. They just don't do it. So I'm hoping that he doesn't fall into that trap. And with everyone sort of almost egging him on, and the journalists continuing to pump him up, that he doesn't fall into the trap of trying to get into a slugfest. He boxes carefully and just gets the job done. And for Joey Spencer, I mean, the first time fighting out of the States, as far as I know, I mean, is he going to be able to perform in a venue that's going to be 99% against him? That's probably like any fighter out there. And is he up to the standard? So as far as, I'm just going to, not sure what's happening there with the sound there, guys, but I will just mute you for a sec so we don't have that coming through. But yeah, they're my 2 biggest question marks for both guys, but also along the lines of with Tim, how is he affected mentally from that fight with Murtazalia, but also with Joey Spencer? How has he been affected? I know it was about 18 months ago with that Jesus Ramos fight, but this is the biggest fight he's had since then. So how is he going to react when he's got someone like Tim Tszyu in there throwing bombs at him? So I'll give my prediction in a second. So Jay, you reckon it's going to be Tim Tszyu by decision?
Yeah, I think a sort of 7 rounds to 3 sort of decision, or a late TKO refs stoppage. But I'm leaning more towards a 7-3 sort of decision.
And Big J, you had the same Tim Tszyu by decision, I think, too, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tim Tszyu by decision. I'm not going 7-3. I'm going more 6-4. I think it's going to be a little bit more closer than what people think, considering it's a 10-round fight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and Tim's a notoriously slow starter. So, yeah, I think 6-4, Tim. But as I said, I want him to knock this kid out clean so he can come back on the scene big time. But if he doesn't, I don't know. But, yeah, I'd say 6-4 in favour of Tim.
Yeah. I think the fight, I watched the Jesus Ramos fight the other day, and I've got a feeling we could get a repeat of that performance. I just think without the stoppage, and just to clarify, it wasn't a knockout. I think the towel was thrown in by his dad in the corner, so it wasn't a knockout. He finished on his feet, so he's a tough guy. because he took some awfully big punches in that fight, took a lot of punishment. And I think we're going to get a repeat of that. I think Tim does start cautiously, which you would understand. But I think once he finds his feet, finds his range, finds his timing, all that sort of, and he's more importantly finds his confidence, I think when you see him really step it up, I think you're going to see Joey Spencer really out of his depth. I think once Tim realises that Joey Spencer's not a big puncher, yes, he's tough and he's hard and he gives it his all, but in my opinion, I think Joey Spencer is extremely limited, and that's why I think he's the ideal opponent for Tim Tszyu. And I just think if Tim starts to get his confidence up, starts to go through the gears and feels comfortable and doesn't really get a lot back, I've got a feeling we could see him really overwhelm Joey Spencer and maybe stop him late. But I'm just leaning towards with you guys thinking it might just be a one-sided decision win for Tim Tszyu over Joey Spencer, and he wins like 8 rounds to 2. I actually think Tim's going to win this very, very convincingly. I'm not disrespecting Joey Spencer at all, but from what I saw in his fight with Jesus Ramos Jr., I just don't think he's anywhere near Tim's class. And I think mental issues aside, I think if Tim comes in there and he's switched on, I think it could be a pretty, I won't say easy, it's never easy, but a conclusive win by Tim Tszyu. And as I said, if it goes a distance, I think it's going to be 8-2, maybe even 9-1 for Tim Tszyu. So, Big J, now if Tim does win, the question was before, where do you see him in 5 fights time or 5 years? I'm assuming it's 5 fights time. Where do you see him if he gets past this one?
5 fights, next will be Thurman. After that, and he deserves this, and Fandora said the same thing, he should get the Fandora rematch. He's been completely shafted out of that. I don't think Tim wins that as easily as people would think, because Fandora's completely changed now because he's learned to use his reach. Like, even though he fought a shocking opponent the other day, he used his reach, and he's learnt that now that he's 6'5", not 5'7", and he's using his reach to keep people away. If he gets past Fandora, then I don't think he'll go after Bakram Mazoudier again. I don't think he'll get the Crawford fight either. So, God, it's bloody hard because so many factors. You know, Crawford will probably call it a day after the Canelo fight. Maybe he might come back. If Tim's a champion and Crawford's a champion, you might see the Crawford fight. And then after that, who bloody knows? So there's too many factors to say.
You sounded like Brendan Bradford or Peter Badell or someone, mate. You've already lined him up to fight Crawford. He hasn't even got past Joey Spencer yet.
Potentially.
Okay.
You got to move the chess pieces on the board. You know how it works.
I
know.
I'm only taking the piss.
And if he's got the guts, man, the chap will be on the undercard. But
all right, well, you never know. Jay, where do you see Tim in 5 fights' time? Oh, hang on. Sorry, I muted you. Sorry, you're back. Sorry.
5 fights' time, I reckon Tim, in an ideal world, will have a Fondora rematch by January 2026.
Wow.
I think the goal for Tim would be Thurman, and then Fondora. What's Fondora going to do? Fight? Who's he going to fight for a payday like Tim Tszyu? That Fondora Tszyu too.
Maybe.
Maybe, but I mean, how much money does it generate? I mean, Fondora Tszyu 2 in Sydney would sell Kudos Bank Arena. It would sell 15, 16.
Do you think Fondora's coming to Australia as the champion? Can they offer him enough money?
I think they could. I think with some government funding behind the event, bring Fondora over here. What else is Fondora got on the horizon?
Good point.
So I think
bugger off.
I think that's what Tim should be aiming for, is a Fondora rematch. And that's not an automatic win, but I think it's the easiest, the most logical path back to a belt. Because once those belts go to guys like Ortiz and that sort of thing, then it gets real hard.
Yeah, no, it does. I would probably see after this fight, I think it'll be Thurman. I would think later in the year. That obviously that's not rocket science, is it? To think he's going to fight Thurman. Then I would think. So after this is he gets past this one, of course. Then I think it's Thurman. So that would be the first one. Then I think from 2026, that's where, depending on, he's got to get past Thurman first, of course. But let's assume he keeps winning these fights. So he beats Spencer, he beats Thurman. Then I would say he's back, as they say. He's back in the big time. And then I think he could have a number of opponents. I think what it does is give him the option of fighting the Virgil Ortizes, obviously Fundora. Who knows? I doubt they're going to put him in with, say, a Boachok or one of those types of guys. I think he's not the type of guy that they want Tim in there with. But they're probably the two main ones. If he does get past either one of those guys, maybe Charlo's back in the mix as well. Like Big J said, maybe Crawford comes back, although I strongly doubt it because by the time Tim would get to him, it'd be 2027. I think he's long gone. I just think I think we've probably got to think of the next sort of 3 fights, not 5. And then it's going to be after this one, it'll be Thurman. And then it will be probably Ortiz or Fundora or one of those guys after that. And then it might be another one of those guys after that. But at least he'll be back. But for me, I've been saying this for weeks, and I'm sure you guys will both agree that for me, Tim is not back, even with a win over Spencer on Sunday. He'll be back if he beats him convincingly, but then gets past Thurman. If he gets past Thurman, then he's back. Or maybe if it's not even back, because, I mean, what are we defining as back? Back to what? Was he really at the absolute upper echelon of the 154-pounders, or was he just hanging on to a belt and was about mid-range? So the whole thing about back could be defined in a whole lot of different ways. I'm just thinking if he beats Thurman, he'll be back amongst the mix of probably the top 5 or 6 154-pounders in the world. And then we start again. He's basically got to have a crack at one of those guys. And I know everyone keeps saying about the Fundora fight, if it hadn't done this and if it hadn't, it went 2 rounds. Let's not all get excited. I know Tim lit him up for the first 2 rounds, but Fundora is a very durable guy and can fight. So who's to say that after 3 or 4 rounds, Fundora didn't kick into gear? So I'm not subscribing to that. But all I'll say is I think if Tim gets past Spencer and then Thurman, he's just in the mix as a general. I'm not going to say he's back at the top, but he's just in the mix, and then it's up to him. I'm still not sold. I'll be honest. From what I saw last year, I know the Fundora fight was a bit of a mulligan for him, but the Murtazalia fight, I don't like to say it, but it put massive doubts in my mind about the credibility of Tim and whether he can match it at the top level. And I know he got caught. I know he was caught cold, all that sort of stuff. But, geez, that was an effortless win by Murtazalia of over the supposed number, 1, 2, 3, 154-pounder in the world. So I don't mean to keep jabbering on, but Big J, you got any comments on top of that?
Well, mate, I've been saying for years that Tim Tszyu is not as good as everyone bloody thinks he is. I said 3-4 years ago, where he fought Charlo the first time, before Charlo hurt his hand, Charlo would have done exactly the same thing that Murtazalia did to him. I mean, the media has hyped up this kid. You got to remember, he's still living off the reputation of his father. Always have, always will. And he will never be as good as his father, not even close to what his father achieved. Unless he becomes undisputed champion, as 6 successful defenses, he will never succumb to what his father achieved. Name me one person besides Floyd that was better than his father was. Name me one. All these second-gen fighters, second-rate fighters living off their daddy's reputation. Chris Eubank Jr., Nigel Benn, what's Hatton's boy's name? Campbell Hatton. They won't come close to what
Chavez Jr., yep.
Yeah, Chavez Jr. I mean, none of these boys will come close to what their fathers have achieved. And people have said it many, many times. If Tim's last name wasn't Tszyu, no one would care who he was. So, and that's just a fact. But he's a good fighter, but he's not a great fighter. And he hasn't proved that he is at that echelon. Like you said, as I said, if he beats Thurman, another blown-up, washed-up welterweight, to the 4 that he's already fought, big deal. He hasn't fought Ortiz, Boachuk, Lubin, Jesus Ramos, what's the other bloke's name? Madrimov. All those blokes could potentially beat him and beat him badly. So until he beats any of those guys, to say he was back, he was never really there. He won a vacant belt, took a second-rate challenger, held it for 6 seconds, and lost to Fundora. That's the facts. He was less than 6 months.
And g'day to all the Tim Tszyu fans out there listening to your little rant there. Don't hold back there, Big J.
You got to give me a righter. You got to give me a righter reply to that one, Lyndon.
Yeah, go ahead, mate.
Tim Tszyu won a vacant belt like a lot of fighters do against Brian Mendoza after winning an interim title against Tony Harrison, who beat Charlo. And yes, he was sort of past his best, Tony Harrison. But then he also beat Mendoza, who knocked Fondora cold out. And then, he lost a split decision. One judge gave him 8 rounds against Sebastian Fondora, who's now a unified champion in Las Vegas, headlining at the T-Mobile Arena. He got 8 rounds on one card, lost a split decision, couldn't see for 10 rounds. And I know that it wasn't an automatic win, that Fondora fight, but he lost a split decision and couldn't see for 10 rounds. So, of course, he's a world-class fighter. He mightn't be an elite fighter, or he hasn't proven himself to be elite, but you can't say he's not a great fighter. And I think he's well and truly come out of the shadows of his father, because it would be much easier if you come from a privileged, wealthy family to sit and watch TV all day and live off your parents' money. So I've got a lot of respect for Tim and Nikita in the fact that they work hard every day and try and become the best they can be. And then he fought Buckram, and obviously that went horribly wrong, but Buckram was highly avoided and was paid 3 step-aside deals by Charlo. So,
good.
Take away the Buckram.
Hang on, Big J. Hang on. Yep.
Take away the Buckram performance, and I think Tim Tszyu's career is still in the top 5 of the division and up at the upper echelon.
We need to have another show called The Debate, where we bring up a subject and just have you two guys go at it, I think. Big J, well, he's had his right to reply. I'll give you one more crack at what Jay said. Very well spoken, by the way, Jay. And someone just said there, Jules said you come with speaking notes. So you got a teleprompter or something in there? Because it was very well spoken.
I've got nothing.
Absolutely.
Come on, Big J, last word.
When I mean great fighter, I mean elite. So great means elite.
Yep.
So that's what I mean by that. I mean, Tim is a phenomenal fighter. Yeah, the Fondora fight was just plain bloody bad luck. Like, put that one under the card. But when he got to the top echelon, he got destroyed in 3 rounds, and great fighters don't get knocked out in 3 rounds. I don't care what you say.
Roberto Duran got knocked out in 2 rounds by Thomas Hearns. Just putting it out there.
Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns, what weight division was that?
154.
Was Buckram?
Duran was a blown up.
Is Buckram the top echelon?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Is Buckram Murtazaliev the top echelon there, Big J?
I believe he is. I mean, I think he's been a dark horse. And as you said, he had 3 step-aside agreements from Charlo. That was probably because Charlo thought he was going to get the shit kicked out of him. So he got not 1, not 2, but 3 step-aside agreements. There's a reason behind that. You said it yourself.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree. I just think you take away that fight, and Tim Tszyu up until Fondora, he was world class and he was one of the best in the division. And then obviously his career's
not elite. He's world class, but he's not elite. Difference.
Yeah, I just think if the Fondora situation didn't happen they could have easily pulled him out of that fight as well before 4 rounds, and I don't think they would have gone anywhere near Buckram. So there's so many moving parts to it all,
Don't speak hypothetical, speak facts. The facts is they didn't stop it, and he lost, and then he got destroyed. It's as simple as that. So
anyway.
Hypothetical.
Hey, what I'll just contribute to it is, I really like both sets of comments, and in some ways you're both right, you're both wrong, whatever it might be. But the only thing I would probably say, I'm a massive fan of Tim Tszyu, just like everyone is, but I will agree, I don't think he's ever been great. I think the word great gets thrown around a lot. Tim Tszyu is not great. Very, very good fighter. Has done some great things. But, I mean, when you talk great fighters, we're talking about Chavez and Leonard and De La Hoya and Pacquiao, and that's great. Tim Tszyu has done so well for his career, and I take my hat off to him. He's won, even though it was vacant, it's still the world belt. He had some really impressive performances, and who knows what might have happened with the Fondora fight. But I just think we've got to be pretty careful when we when we term someone great, because I mean you've got to have the resume to back it up, and we've had so many great champions over the years. But hey, as I said, Jay, especially I really respect what you said about Tim, and it made a hell of a lot of sense. And Big J, I reckon you might have been a little bit harsh on Tim, but you make some legitimate points as well. So I'm not going to dispute that either. But it's definitely a talking point. Isn't it amazing, though? What I will say, I'll start with you, Jay. Isn't it amazing that 12 months ago, the way we all perceived Tim, how it's perceived 12 months later? I mean, there's no way 12 months ago we would have been sitting, or not you, but we would have been questioning the credentials of Tim Tszyu. And here we are later, even questioning whether he's even a world-class fighter.
Yeah, it's incredible. And it all goes back to the Fondora fight, really. I mean, had he got through that fight, he's a unified champion, and, you know, he can hold on to the belts until he gets a mandatory, and, you know, he's the number one in the division, and I don't think they go near Buckram. But yeah, it's incredible how boxing turns. But in saying that, one win and you're back in the saddle, and then, you know, he wins this weekend. He's back into Thurman, and Thurman's a big name in the States, and he gets that win, and then, you know, he might get the Fondora rematch, and this time next year we could be calling Tim Tszyu great. So you just don't know.
Just what would it take? I'll ask you the question. I'll do the same thing. What would it take for you? I know you call Tim great. Do you actually really believe he's great, or is it just, do you think, if not, what would he need to do to become great, or do you think he already is great?
I distinguish him between elite and great. Like elite to me would be,
no doubt about that, he's elite.
I was going to put elite above. I was thinking elite above great, so I'd say the elite of the elite.
Great is icon level.
Elite,
he's just been an A grade fighter. That's, you know, a great is, I said, Pacquiao, De La Hoya, Mayweather, these guys.
All right. Well, I had it the other way around.
Okay. Well, elite is an Errol Spence at his best. You know, that's an elite fighter.
Yeah.
But are they a great fighter? Probably not. So that's all
so
right.
If that's how you have it, then I'd have Tim. I'd have him as an elite fighter. I mean, he's been a champion, whether it was vacant or not. And you know, he's up there, and if he comes back, he can keep getting better. But this weekend's the test. But if that's how you see it, elite, then great. Then I'd have Tim elite.
What would it take in your eyes to be on a par, or to be perceived on the same level as his father?
I think he needs to become a two-time champion, and then perhaps, you know, unify the division, or go up and become a two-weight world champion, and unify that division. But I think comparing him to Costas, I don't think he'll ever reach the heights of his father. But it's not to say
he's a
he
great
won't.
fighter. He is a great. So if you don't think Tim can get that level, well, it's going to be hard for him to be perceived as a great. But
it's not to say he won't, but we will see.
A tough gig. It's look at Costas' record. Very, very hard to measure against. BJ, you've let us know your thoughts about Tim. What does he have to do in your mind from here on for him to actually be in the same, or on the same shelf as his dad and other great fighters that are, that are through history?
Well, that's easy. Do exactly what his father did at the same time. I think around the same age, his father won back the WBC 140 belt, I think around 30.
Yep. Then
he got the WBA, and then he kicked the living shit out of, what was that chump's name? Judah, made him do that chicken dance. Do exactly the same as his father did. Win the belts in succession, become undisputed, have 3 or 4 successful defenses? Trump, his father, had 5 successful defenses, and retire, undisputed. So I've been saying that for years. I said that on T Street's channel like 4 years ago. He has to win all the belts and have 6 successful defenses to outshadow his father. Because to outshadow his father, he has to do better than what his father ever did.
Yeah. And I think And I think the easiest way to define the word great, by the way, is to say, okay, would this fighter would you put him in the Hall of Fame? Because that is the definition of the greatest fighters of all time. And would Tim Tszyu go into the Hall of Fame alongside all those great fighters in history? And I don't think at this stage he's anywhere near it. But for me, I would think he's obviously got to get past Spencer. Then I would think he's got to beat Thurman, and then he's got to beat the likes of a Fundora. Then he's got to beat a Ramos Jr. Then he's got to beat a Virgil Ortiz, and then probably defend the belt 5 times. Then go up to middleweight and win a couple of belts up there. That for me would be the definition of great. So there's a long way to go. I mean, just look at the great fighters in history. I think he could go down in history as a very good fighter, and potentially a Hall of Famer, but still a long way to go. I can't believe we're talking about this. You know, he hasn't even gotten past Joey Spencer yet, Jay. So I think you started this discussion.
No, we're gonna get past Spencer.
So anyway, but guys, look, we're going to call it a night at that. We've been on for about half an hour longer than what we probably thought it would be, but I really appreciate your views. It's been a very interesting discussion, and maybe we will do a show one night where we'll call it the debate and bring up a couple of subjects and debate was such and fighter, a great fighter, and who would have beat who, whatever. But plenty of things to go over. But guys, have a great week. I hope you both have or watch the fight. Jay, you'll obviously be there covering all. So if you haven't followed Jay, make sure you do. Jay McAllister Boxing on Instagram, YouTube, and everything else. We get some great interviews out there. And Big J with the Oz Boxing Talk. Was it Big J?
Aussie Boxing Talk. Old
Aussie
mate
Boxing
Big J
Talk
on your socials.
Yeah.
And T Street Controversy on YouTube.
All right, good stuff. All right, guys, have a great week. Thanks so much for coming on, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks,
mate.
mate.